In the third year of my substitute marriage, I finally received the final payment from my benefactor. I decided it was time to disappear for good. I'd had enough of this lifeless, marquee manor. Before I vanished, I made up my mind to wreak havoc on the entire household. My mother-in-law tried to impose her rules and refused to let me eat. I flipped the whole table and shouted, "You old hag, let's see who starves to death first." A concubine stirred up drama and falsely accused me of pushing her over. I shoved her right into the pond in front of everyone and laughed. Yeah, I pushed you.
What are you going to do about it?
My vicious younger brother-in-law threatened to expose me for flirting with him. I slapped him across the face and smiled sweetly. Go ahead. Tell your sickly brother that I don't just want to tease you. I want to tear off your clothes and make you kneel and beg.
Dero 1.
My master always said I was greedy, lustful, cowardly, like a clay statue of a bodhisattva, all show and no substance. But hey, this little mouse actually pulled off something big today. I finally opened the old madam's eyes. After I flipped the table, she stood there stunned for ages. She looked at me, then at the mess of food on the ground, completely speechless. She'd lived this long and probably never seen anyone lose it in front of her like that. She was even more panicked than I was, had no idea how to react. She looked at me, stammering, "Have you gone mad from hunger?" It was just one meal. One meal, my ass. For the past 3 years, she always found fault with me at the table. Either I ate too fast or too slow. Then she'd punish me by making me stand aside and serve while she ate. Does she have any idea how torturous that is for a foodie like me? I put up with it for 3 years. Today, I finally flipped the table. I gave her a cold laugh and said sarcastically, "Looks like you've gone crazy locked up in this deep, gloomy compound. So many rules for just one meal. No wonder your sickly son doesn't want to eat with you." The old madam frowned at me and said, "Talking nonsense again." She ordered the servants to drag me to the ancestral hall to kneel. I knocked each one down with a punch and strolled out proudly. On my way back, I ran into the marquis concubine Lu Xianyue. As we passed each other, she purposely fell down and started crying pitifully. I grabbed her hair and kicked her straight into the lake. Delicate and helpless?
Please.
In the water, she swam faster than a fish. She scrambled out of the lake like a whirlwind. Not a trace of that frail, weepy look left. The maids didn't even get a chance to jump in before she was already back on land. They all stared at each other in shock. Lu Xianyue awkwardly clawed at the dirt, looking like she wanted to dig a hole and disappear. I rolled my eyes at her, knew she was faking it. One night when I snuck out, I saw her at a street stall gnawing on a roasted lamb leg, her mouth full of grease, enjoying it like crazy. What kind of fragile concubine can chow down a whole lamb leg? That night, I knew her act was fake. Ever since I married into the marquis household in someone else's place, this childhood sweetheart of the marquis kept framing me. And that sickly marquis, the one who should have died but just wouldn't, never stood on my side. Whenever he fell asleep, I'd get up and wave air slaps in front of his face. These past 3 years, I was scared of being exposed, so I kept pretending to be gentle and virtuous, playing the part of a noble lady while suffering endlessly. Just like they say, money's hard to earn and crap's hard to swallow. Now that I've got the silver, I'm done being this household's workhorse. Anyone dares give me attitude again, I'll give them hell right back. I went to the kitchen and filled a food box to the brim with pastries, then hummed a little tune on my way to the side courtyard to visit my beautiful man. The old marquis only had one illegitimate son, Cheng Wangji. He was the only thing that brought me any joy in this gloomy mansion. 2. 3 years ago, I took a large sum of silver and married into the marquis family in someone else's place. On our wedding night, the marquis was too sick to even show up for the ceremony. So Cheng Wangji stood in for his older brother and went through the wedding rites with me.
But I didn't know that at the time.
On the wedding night, when I lifted the red veil, I saw Cheng Wangji sitting beside me. Girls, he was drop-dead gorgeous. He was dressed in a red wedding robe like a wild flame. His skin was fair like jade, his features stunningly beautiful, Even peonies would pale in comparison. And those eyes, a soft amber hue, utterly captivating. Cold and aloof beauty?
Deadly.
I'd been running around the Jianghu for years. Only ever met rough brutes. Never seen a man this pretty. I literally gulped. He turned to look at me, pressed his lips together, and said nothing. Of course, he was shy. He's the Marquis, after all. I couldn't hold back my lust. I reached out to undress him. Don't be afraid, my lord. I'll be gentle. I pushed him down on the bed and bit his lips. So soft. Cool, like chilled melon on a summer day. But then came a voice that ruined the moment. Polite and gentle, it said. Madam, could you kindly get off my younger brother? I turned my head and there was my actual husband, Chung Heshua, standing right by the bed. When I looked at his face, I finally understood what they meant by a gentleman like Jade. Dressed in plain blue robes, he still looked elegant and noble. He was clearly a refined young master raised in luxury, with an air that made people not dare look straight at him. I glanced at him sideways for a while, then silently pulled my hand out of Chen Wangji's pants. Chen Wangji had already gotten up. He shot me a glare, wiped his lips fiercely, and left without saying a word. I licked my lips and looked at Chung Heshua, who was still standing there.
Fine.
The younger brother's gone, but the elder one's here. Not a total loss.
Sigh.
Too bad, I was dreaming. Chung Heshua was seriously ill. He needed medicine and rest every day and never shared a bed with me. The thought of being alone in an empty room forever, I couldn't take it. I eventually set my sights on Chung Wangji in the side courtyard. Of course, I didn't give up on Chung Heshua either. I kept flirting with him persistently. Whether it worked or not, I had nothing to lose.
Hee hee.
03. Chung Wangji sat by the window reading. On this hot and stuffy afternoon, the air was filled with the constant buzz of cicadas. Everyone else was drowsy, sneaking in naps and slacking off. But he only seemed to grow more diligent by the day, patient enough to sit and read through the heat. I set the food box on the table, sat on his lap, and reached out to touch his abs. I complained, "You've lost weight again? Didn't I already tell the kitchen not to short you on meals?" Chung Wangji wasn't favored by the old madam. He lived alone in a side courtyard without even a servant to attend to him. People in the Marquis household judged based on status, so they always forgot to bring him meals on purpose. He pushed me off and lowered his head to smooth out the clothes I'd rumpled. Ugh, there he goes again, acting like a prude. I couldn't be bothered to argue. Ever since I defiled this little cabbage Chung Wangji, he'd been trapped in this state of resisting me while sinking deeper. In broad daylight, his sense of morality would kick in, and he'd refuse to let me get close. I might be stingy in most things, but when it comes to a beauty like Chung Wangji, I'm more than willing to spend. The clothes he wears, the brush, ink, paper, and inkstone he uses, all were things I stole from Chung Heshua. My so-called husband had so much stuff anyway, he'd never notice if a few things went missing. I picked up a sweet peach and lay under the tree in the courtyard, eyes closed, fantasizing about a peaceful future. I'd followed my master, a wandering Taoist priest, for years in the martial world, cheating and scheming just to survive, often sleeping in the wild and eating scraps. But now, with his silver, I could finally settle down and live a stable life. Master always said I was born under an unlucky star, destined for disaster. He went to great lengths to ward off my misfortunes, yet in the end, I still ran off to marry in someone else's place for money. Sigh, once I return to Jiangnan, I'll have to beg Master for forgiveness. The peach I was nibbling on was suddenly taken from me. I opened my eyes and saw Chung Wangji standing in front of me. He'd changed into the clothes I gave him a few days ago, light and breathable fabric. When Chung Heshua wore it, he gave off a restrained, ascetic vibe. But on Chung Wangji, I let my gaze roam over him. He irritably tugged at the collar, nearly crushing the peach in his hand. After a while, he finally muttered, "Go find me a few more books." He listed a few titles, which I memorized and nodded. Chung Wangji was always so uptight, insisting our relationship was purely transactional. Every time I came to see him, He had to give me some task or condition before he could allow himself to get close. He tossed the crushed peach, washed his hands, and picked up a pastry from the food box to feed me. While eating, I took a playful bite of his hand. Chung Wangji couldn't hold back anymore. He leaned down and kissed me. The peach tree beside us rustled in the wind, scattering a few leaves. The cicadas gradually quieted. At some point, the sky turned overcast, and it looked like it was about to rain. Chung Wangji stood up, lips flushed. He was slightly out of breath and said softly, "Let's go to the room." The wind blew his hair into slight disarray. I admired his stunning, seductive face and slowly got to my feet. I helped tidy his collar and said gently, "Starting tomorrow, I won't come anymore. If you need anything, just leave me a note. If I see it, I'll have someone bring it to you." Chung Wangji stared at me, his expression dark. Then suddenly, he chuckled coldly and said, "Done playing, so now you want to toss me aside?" He pulled me into his arms, bit my neck, and said in a low, hazy voice, "But I haven't gotten nearly enough out of you. If you dare throw me away like this, I'll tell my brother everything we've done together." He leaned in and kissed me again. I kissed him back for a while before pushing him away and saying arrogantly, "Go ahead, tell Chung Hishiwa. Tell him we kissed behind the fake mountain in the garden, held hands in the snowy plum grove, and did all sorts of wild things in your room." I'd love to see the look on his face. 04. I thought they would gang up to report me. Then Chung Hishiwa would be so angry he'd divorce me. I'd cry, make a scene, maybe threaten to hang myself, and that same night, I'd set a fire and disappear. But unexpectedly, these fakes didn't make a sound. Could it be they were just waiting until dinner to collectively confront me? Tonight was the 15th day of the lunar month. As usual, this bunch always had dinner together. I slipped out early and ate a big bowl of lamb, drinking 2 taels of wine. Rubbing my round belly, I timed my return to the Marquis mansion just right. But to my surprise, dinner had started early, and the whole table was waiting for me. The old madam looked at me sternly and said, "Kneel down. How can you show such disrespect by coming early to serve?" I wasn't scared at all. I turned and slammed a big bowl of rice down in front of Chung Hishiwa with a bang. His eyebrows twitched slightly as he said gently, "Madam, I can't eat that much." I then slammed the bowl down before the old madam with an expressionless face, saying, "If he won't eat, then you eat. If you won't eat either, and even the dogs won't eat, then maybe check the feng shui and ward off some evil spirits." Lu Xianyue stood quietly by the side, her head lowered, shoulders trembling slightly. I patted her shoulder kindly and said, "If you need to pee, go ahead and leave early." The old madam watched with a face that clearly said unbelievable. I poured the old madam a cup of wine, put my arm around her shoulder, and said earnestly, "Look, if I don't serve Chung Hishiwa, you punish me. If I do serve him, you're unhappy. Life is short. Why make things hard for others and upset yourself? Come on, let's drink a toast to clear the grudges," with a smile. The old madam glanced at me and frowned, saying, "You're getting crazier and crazier. Chung Hishiwa really should see the wife he's got." I took a small mirror from Lu Xianyue's arms, looked into it happily, and said, "Chung Hishiwa's wife is quite beautiful. Nose is a nose, eyes are eyes." "Oh, aren't you curious why after 3 years of marriage I still haven't gotten pregnant?" I said to the old madam, word by word, "Because Chung Hishiwa he's impotent." The old madam's lips trembled with anger. "Why you said what?" I sighed. "Oh, didn't hear clearly? Guess my voice was too soft." I opened the door and shouted with all my might, "Yeoman Marquis Chung Hishiwa is a handsome but useless eunuch, impotent and weak." Chung Hishiwa watched our quarrel from start to finish, his expression calm and indifferent. His face was always serene and gentle, like the most dignified gentleman in the world. As if nothing in this world could stir him even a little. Lu Xianyue was afraid of laughing too hard and losing her golden rice bowl. She kept staring at the floor, too scared to look up. Chung Wangji kept staring at me all evening, afraid no one would notice our affair. It felt good. Tonight, I finally acted out the big scene I dreamed of for years. For the past 3 years, I dreamed of tearing the old madam apart and cursing Chung Hishua. Unfortunately, my sponsor had warned me repeatedly if I exposed my identity, he wouldn't pay me the final installment and would hold me responsible. But now it didn't matter. I was running away tomorrow. The old madam was speechless from anger. She had no way to deal with someone like me, who was reckless and defiant. I sat down and drank tea to soothe my throat. Suddenly, Chung Hishua said gently to me, "The Taichung Piaohao in the capital is colluding with corrupt officials to launder money. The Piaohao is currently sealed off, and tomorrow the common people might riot. Madam, it's better if you don't go out then."
Uft.
Who made him the boss of heaven and earth, telling me where I can and can't go. I laughed quietly in my heart. Tomorrow I'd exchange my silver and run away. When you come back, you'll only find a charred fake corpse. Taichung Piaohao? I turned away from the others, pulled out a silver note from my pouch, and looked at the seal on it. Suddenly, my ears buzzed, my head felt congested, and the world spun around me. At that moment, Chung Wangji on my left suddenly grabbed my hand. My heart skipped a beat. The old madam saw our hands intertwined and suddenly straightened her back. Chung Hishua lightly tapped the table and narrowed his eyes slightly. Lu Xianyuer finally looked up, her eyes shining with excitement. 05. That damned corrupt official made it, so I couldn't withdraw my silver. Without silver, how was I supposed to escape? If I couldn't escape and ended up going crazy, wouldn't that be like a little lamb walking into a tiger's den? No body left to bury? Just as Chung Wangji was about to expose our sordid affair, I made a snap decision to fully commit to the act of madness. I flung his hand away and stood up, convulsing all over.
Ah.
Evil spirits, begone. No one is allowed to defy my noble, beautiful, reasonable, and understanding mother-in-law. My dear husband, my beloved husband, no one is allowed to defile you. I threw myself into the old madam's arms, crying, "Mother, save me. Please save me." The old madam was so startled by my wild embrace that she stiffened as she hugged me. Then I rolled my eyes, twisted my mouth, and let my hands curl like chicken claws, then fainted. Chaos followed. I heard the old madam shouting for a doctor and a Taoist priest. She was gently stroking my face. I was stunned inside. What? The strict and upright old madam was actually stroking my face? Chung Wangji, ignoring everyone's stares, suddenly picked me up and rushed back to the bedroom. Lying on the bed, I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. The doctor arrived quickly and took my pulse. Squinting my eyes, I saw him whispering to Chung Wangji with a grave expression. But I was alive and kicking. Why did the doctor look like I was on my deathbed? Damn quack. Was he trying to scam us out of money? But the next second, pain suddenly stabbed my chest. I lunged toward the edge of the bed and vomited a mouthful of black blood. I couldn't stop throwing up blood. Panicked, I covered my mouth. God, please no more. If I kept throwing up, I was going to die for real. Chung Wangji rushed over like an arrow and shoved a sweet pill into my mouth. Finally, the vomiting stopped. Weakly leaning into his arms, I felt like this might really be the end. If I was going out, I had to get some benefits before I died. Chung Wangji used a handkerchief to wipe my mouth. I grabbed his hand and wailed. Chung Wangji, I hid Chung Hishua's jade hairpin, the Lantian jade pendant, and the golden-laid jade belt buckle under the dog hole in the western garden. Dig them up, sell them, and buy me all the life-saving medicine, ginseng, deer antler, everything. Then go to the 10,000 Buddhist temple and ask for a protective charm, light a lamp for me at Wuwei Daoist temple, and burn incense at the lady's shrine. Chung Wangji leaned down, bit my lip, and growled, "Stop talking nonsense. You just ate too much and hurt your stomach. Rest up and you'll be fine." The maid brought over a bowl of pitch-black medicine. I drank it, felt a lot better, and drifted off to sleep. I vaguely sensed Chung Wangji sitting at my bedside watching me for a while. After he left and closed the door behind him, I suddenly flipped up like a carp. I had to run tonight. Chung Wangji carrying me off in front of everyone like that. Our affair was bound to be exposed. If I didn't escape now, I'd be dead meat. 06. I rushed to the display cabinet and stuffed all of Cheng Heshua's valuables into a bundle. That dog of a man, Cheng Heshua. Who knows what was wrong with him? He actually poisoned his own late-night snacks. And me, couldn't keep my damn mouth shut. Why did I always steal his food? There was a period when my internal energy felt blocked. After getting checked out, I found out I'd been poisoned. Scared out of my wits, I wrote a letter to my master begging for help that very night. When my master found out the reason I was poisoned, he just drew a giant question mark in his reply. Master. Before you die, don't ever say I was your master. I can't afford that kind of disgrace. Still, grumbles aside, he gave me the antidote and urged me to get out as soon as possible. I swore to the heavens I'd learn my lesson and would never touch Cheng Heshua's food again. But then I got poisoned again. Again. One night, Cheng Heshua had just finished bathing. He was lying lazily on the bed in loose clothing, looking dazed and lost in thought. His medicine was sitting on the table, getting cold. I was so sleepy I could barely keep my eyes open. I just wanted him to drink the medicine and go to bed, so I tried to talk him into it. Then he looked at me, eyes slightly unfocused, and this usually upright man softly said, "Wife, would you feed me?" I got seduced. Fed him a whole bowl of medicine mouth to mouth. The medicine was sweet. I couldn't resist and ended up drinking quite a bit myself. So I got poisoned. Again. This time I was too embarrassed to even ask my master for help. He was right. I really was hopeless, greedy for both money and lust. In my past life, I grew up in an orphanage and was always hungry. After time traveling, I became a little beggar who never had a full meal before meeting my master. I was timid and weak. Couldn't fight those older than me, and couldn't bring myself to rob the younger ones. Even stray dogs could snatch food from me. I was terrified of hunger in both my lives. That's how I became someone who'd risk my life for a bite of good food. My master always said he tried to help me, but I was just too useless. After I was poisoned again, I remembered him saying that the poison clashed with lamb. So, tonight, I deliberately ate a ton of lamb. Then threw up all that blood, just to scare Cheng Heshua. Come to think of it, I'd already acted crazy and ridiculous in the dining hall. And that cold-blooded Cheng Heshua just sat there watching. It was Chung Wangji who actually had a conscience. He carried me away and even found me an antidote. After detoxing, I didn't hesitate. I set a fire, climbed out the window, and ran. With the bundle on my back, I started climbing the wall. But suddenly my legs felt heavy.
Huh.
Was my qigong getting worse? I tried to leap, tried again. Still couldn't get up? Looking down, I saw Lu Xianyue clinging to my legs. She looked up at me and pleaded, "Madam, take me with you." I'd have to be insane to bring her. A fake madam faking her death and taking the marquis concubine with her? What kind of absurd scandal would that be? But then Lu Xianyue dropped a bombshell. With a miserable look, she said, "Madam, I suspect that cousin Cheng Heshua died a long time ago. Please save me. Otherwise, I'll die in the marquis residence too." 07. Hesitation means defeat. Neither I nor Lu Xianyue managed to escape. Cheng Heshua appeared in the backyard like a restless, wandering ghost. He looked at me with a gentle smile, as if watching a mischievous child. I awkwardly met his gaze and coughed twice. Lu Xianyue glanced toward Cheng Heshua with a fearful expression. She let go of me and ran off, shouting as she ran, "The madwoman's crazier than ever." She ran fast, but I was still stuck sitting on the wall, trapped with no way forward or back. I sneaked a glance at Cheng Heshua, thinking how to get out of this mess. Fight? I weighed my martial skills. The whole mansion was full of people and power. I wouldn't win. Call on my master's name? My master would surely come from afar and clean up the mess. I thought for a moment, jumped down from the wall, and walked over to wrap my arms around Cheng Heshua's waist. I looked up, confused, and said, "Husband, why am I here? I just heard the maid say I'm possessed. Is that true?" Chung Hashua gently stroked my cheek and stared at me for a while. Then he bent down and kissed me, his voice dreamy. Wan Xiang, you're really naughty. Chung Wangji's body can't keep you, nor can the money from the bank. Tell me, what must I do so you'll stay here with me forever? Tonight, Chung Hushua's body was very cold. I leaned against him, feeling chilly. Before long, torches were lit in the courtyard. The old madam looked at me with sorrowful eyes. Chung Wangji stood beside her, as cold and impatient as ever. The old madam sighed, saying, "Take the madam to the ancestral hall." I turned to Chung Hashua, that damned fake husband, who wouldn't speak up for me. I glared at him angrily and went to the ancestral hall. The ancestral hall was very quiet, with faint candlelight flickering. Chung Hashua and Chung Wangji entered and stood by my side. I couldn't be bothered with them, sitting on a meditation cushion, pulling out a fruit from my bag to munch on. When bored, I looked at the spirit tablets on the ancestral altar. Every tablet had a name, except one, which was empty. I casually asked, "Whose name should be on that one?" Chung Hashua smiled faintly. "It should be mine. 08. No wonder the home mansion always felt so dead inside. Because Chung Hashua was truly a ghost. For the past 3 years, the midnight snacks I'd stolen were offerings secretly delivered to Chung Hushua's room by the maids. They contained talisman water, which poisoned my soul and caused symptoms like poisoning. The night I married into the home mansion, Chung Hashua died. What I saw in the bridal chamber was his spirit. At that time, Chung Hashua had just left his body and was confused, still thinking he was alive. So when he saw me mistake Chung Wangji for him, he warned me. But the maids ignored him, and he saw his pale body lying on the bed. Only when the old madam wept heart-wrenchingly did she realize he was dead. To protect the title of Marquis of Yong'an, the old madam concealed Chung Hushua's death. She called in a favor from my master to set a soul-returning formation for Chung Hashua. As long as a girl with a birth date between life and death guarded Chung Hushua's soul for 999 days, he could return to life. And I was that unlucky girl. I was a soul transmigrator, fitting perfectly the between life and death description. When I heard the truth from my master, I was so angry I stomped my feet and shouted, "I'm your real disciple, and you just watched me jump into such a big pit." My master pinched my ear and said angrily, "You have the nerve to blame me? I nearly fainted when I saw you get married in the home mansion." Hearing that, I felt guilty. After agreeing to the proxy marriage, I lied to my master that I went traveling in Jiangnan. By then, I had already performed the wedding rites with Chung Hashua, and our birth dates were confirmed by heaven and earth. There was no way out. My master, afraid to scare me, let me stay in the home mansion. No wonder I kept seeing Chung Hashua at night for these 3 years. Whenever I mentioned Chung Hushua's name, the mansion's people had strange looks. The old madam even said I was crazy. Well, I thought I was pretending to be crazy. Everyone else thought I really was. Now that's really embarrassing. But I have one big strength despite many flaws: thick skin. I said confidently, "Isn't it for earning a huge sum of money to extend your life?" My master sighed, tapped my forehead and said, "I have glimpsed fate. I won't live long. Don't waste your efforts trying to buy my life with money." I stubbornly said, "With enough money to do charity and donate merits, master could live longer, even if just 1 more year." My master looked at me with compassion and fell silent. I lowered my head and quickly wiped a tear. I wouldn't let my master leave early like this. I have lived 2 lives. In my past life, I was an unwanted orphan, always hungry, and died young saving someone from a carriage accident. This life, I was homeless for 3 years until my master took me in. I finally knew the warmth of having someone who cared. My master didn't force me, but I insisted on changing my name for him. Chung Hushua's spirit stood beside me, gently touching my hair and saying softly, "Madam, rest assured. As long as I can come back to life, I will manage the private estate of the home mansion steadily. Then, the Marquis of Yong'an will have plenty of money for you to use for merit donations." Cheng Wangji squeezed my hand awkwardly, saying, "Within a year, I will definitely pass the imperial exams. I asked your master. The top scholar will receive merits bestowed by the god of literature. When that happens, I will publicly donate those merits to your master to extend his life." I'm naturally an optimist. Hearing these two brothers say this, I immediately perked up and got energized. This home mansion, I'm staying for sure. 09. The old madam had been widowed for many years and understood well how lonely the inner chambers could be. That's why she imposed strict rules on me, fearing I might stray and abandon Chenghishiwa, ruining the whole soul-returning plan. When she learned I was my master's disciple, she gave me a small box of gold bars as compensation. I held the heavy box, realizing that these past 3 years, the old madam hadn't been using rules to punish me. She was actually teaching me with a mother's care. I immediately said righteously, "Old madam, rest assured, I will never stray. Wildflowers don't smell as sweet as homegrown ones. With a gem like Chengwangji around, why would I need to look elsewhere?" The old madam wiped away her tears and kept praising me as a good child. To cover up the fact that Chenghishiwa had passed away, I even approached Lu Xianyue seriously. I told her, "The Marquis is still alive, just bedridden with a lingering illness. That's why he hasn't appeared for a long time. Don't be suspicious or jump to conclusions." Lu Xianyue looked at me with a fake expression and whispered, "Ever since my cousin fell ill, the servants have treated me like I'm out of favor, constantly giving me cold looks. That's why I always try to show my presence in front of the madam, acting like I'm competing for favor. Only by making a fuss can the old madam remember that my cousin still has a concubine like me. She's unlucky too. She was born with an insatiable appetite. She could eat 5 bowls of rice in one sitting and loved meat above all else. Whoever married her wouldn't be able to handle it. But she's getting older, and staying at the Marquis's residence all day is inappropriate." Chenghishiwa pitted his cousin's appetite and timid nature, so he pretended to take her as a concubine, keeping her at the residence to support her. After hearing this, I opened the money box and picked out some gold ingots. Lu Xuanyue's eyes darted to my box, her face clearly asking how many roasted lamb legs this could buy. I reluctantly handed her a gold ingot and lied, "Here, this is from your husband. If you want to eat anything later, just tell the kitchen. Don't sneak out hungry again." Lu Xianyue was so touched she cried and waved her little handkerchief as she watched me leave. I stepped out of the courtyard and sighed deeply. For this family, I have truly exhausted myself. Chenghishiwa waited outside for me, holding my hand gently, saying, "Madam, you've worked hard. In 10 more days, I will return to life. Then you can enjoy peace and leisure, leaving all these trivial matters to me." I casually said, "Once you come back, I'll return to Maoshan to find my master. After that, I won't care about the Chung family affairs anymore." Suddenly, Chenghishiwa's body wavered, and I was startled. He held his forehead weakly. "Madam, I feel dizzy." I quickly embraced him and kissed his lips, transferring yang energy to him. His mouth was icy cold when I kissed him, and I ended up lingering a bit too long. My eyes drifted, and I saw Cheng Wangji standing under a tree, his face dark as he watched me. Oh no! I forgot I was supposed to deliver a book to Cheng Wangji tonight. 10. I didn't know what Cheng Wangji was upset about, but after that night when he saw me transferring yang energy to Chenghishiwa, he shut the courtyard gate and ignored me for 3 days. The servant who delivered meals said Cheng Wangji hadn't studied at all in those 3 days. I thought, this can't be. My master is still waiting for him to donate merit. I immediately went to find him and urged him to study. Chenghishiwa patiently said, "The second young master is still young and easily tired. I'll go with you to see what problems he has and help him resolve them." I walked faster and arrived at Cheng Wangji's courtyard first. Sure enough, he wasn't studying. The courtyard lights were on, and he was sitting under a tree playing the zither and drinking. When Cheng Wangji saw me, he sneered and smashed his wine flask on the ground. He pressed the strings, producing a harsh sound. Suddenly, a string snapped and cut his hand. How can he write with an injured hand? I rushed over, took out a silk handkerchief, and wiped his hand. Chung Wangji struggled but stubbornly said, "You're the treasure of the entire Qing family now. Why would you need me, an insignificant illegitimate son, to entertain you? Leave, I don't want to see you." He said he didn't want to see me, but his head was held high and his eyes fixated on my lips. I know this push and pull behavior very well. I cupped his face and smiled. "Chung Wangji, tell me, isn't it because you love me terribly?" Chung Wangji blushed, his face flashing red and white. He pushed me away, defensively saying, "Stop talking nonsense. We're just meeting each other's needs, that's all." I threw the book at him. "Here, the book you wanted." Chung Wangji held the book, lowering his gaze. "So, will you stay tonight?" Before I could answer, Chung Hashua came over. He looked at Chung Wangji gently and said, "Second brother, the night wind is strong. You're dressed so lightly. Be careful not to catch a cold. Also, before, my soul power was weak and couldn't accompany Xiang, which caused some misunderstandings between you two. From now on, when you see her, you must respectfully call her sister-in-law." 09. The old madam had been widowed for many years and understood well how lonely the inner chambers could be. That's why she imposed strict rules on me, fearing I might stray and abandon Chung Hashua, ruining the whole soul-returning plan. When she learned I was my master's disciple, she gave me a small box of gold bars as compensation. I held the heavy box, realizing that these past 3 years, the old madam hadn't been using rules to punish me. She was actually teaching me with a mother's care. I immediately said righteously, "Old madam, rest assured, I will never stray. Wildflowers don't smell as sweet as homegrown ones. With a gem like Chung Wangji around, why would I need to look elsewhere?" The old madam wiped away her tears and kept praising me as a good child. To cover up the fact that Chung Hashua had passed away, I even approached Lu Xianyue seriously. I told her, "The Marquis is still alive, just bedridden with a lingering illness. That's why he hasn't appeared for a long time. Don't be suspicious or jump to conclusions." Lu Xianyue looked at me with a fake expression and whispered, "Ever since my cousin fell ill, the servants have treated me like I'm out of favor, constantly giving me cold looks. That's why I always try to show my presence in front of the madam, acting like I'm competing for favor. Only by making a fuss can the old madam remember that my cousin still has a concubine like me. She's unlucky too. She was born with an insatiable appetite. She could eat 5 bowls of rice in one sitting and loved meat above all else. Whoever married her wouldn't be able to handle it. But she's getting older, and staying at the Marquis' residence all day isn't appropriate." Chung Hashua pitted his cousin's appetite and timid nature, so he pretended to take her as a concubine, keeping her at the residence to support her. After hearing this, I opened the money box and picked out some gold ingots. Lu Xuanyue's eyes darted to my box, her face clearly asking how many roasted lamb legs this could buy. I reluctantly handed her a gold ingot and lied, "Here, this is from your husband. If you want to eat anything later, just tell the kitchen. Don't sneak out hungry again." Lu Xianyue was so touched she cried and waved her little handkerchief as she watched me leave. I stepped out of the courtyard and sighed deeply. For this family, I have truly exhausted myself. Chung Hashua waited outside for me, holding my hand gently, saying, "Madam, you've worked hard. In 10 more days, I will return to life. Then you can enjoy peace and leisure, leaving all these trivial matters to me." I casually said, "Once you come back, I'll return to Maoshan to find my master. After that, I won't care about the Chung family affairs anymore." Suddenly, Chung Hushua's body wavered, and I was startled. He held his forehead weakly. "Madam, I feel dizzy." I quickly embraced him and kissed his lips, transferring yang energy to him. His mouth was icy cold when I kissed him, and I ended up lingering a bit too long. My eyes drifted, and I saw Chung Wangji standing under a tree, his face dark as he watched me. Oh no! I forgot I was supposed to deliver a book to Chung Wangji tonight.
10.
I didn't know what Cheng Wangji was upset about, but after that night when he saw me transferring yang energy to Cheng Heshua, he shut the courtyard gate and ignored me for 3 days. The servant who delivered meals said Cheng Wangji hadn't studied at all in those 3 days. I thought, this can't be. My master is still waiting for him to donate merit. I immediately went to find him and urged him to study. Cheng Heshua patiently said, "The second young master is still young and easily tired. I'll go with you to see what problems he has and help him resolve them." I walked faster and arrived at Cheng Wangji's courtyard first. Sure enough, he wasn't studying. The courtyard lights were on, and he was sitting under a tree playing the zither and drinking. When Cheng Wangji saw me, he sneered and smashed his wine flask on the ground. He pressed the strings, producing a harsh sound. Suddenly, a string snapped and cut his hand. How can he write with an injured hand? I rushed over, took out a silk handkerchief, and wiped his hand. Cheng Wangji struggled but stubbornly said, "You're the treasure of the entire Qing family now. Why would you need me, an insignificant illegitimate son, to entertain you? Leave, I don't want to see you." He said he didn't want to see me, but his head was held high and his eyes fixated on my lips. I know this push-and-pull behavior very well. I cupped his face and smiled. "Cheng Wangji, tell me, isn't it because you love me terribly?" Cheng Wangji blushed, his face flashing red and white. He pushed me away, defensively saying, "Stop talking nonsense. We're just meeting each other's needs, that's all." I threw the book at him. "Here, the book you wanted." Cheng Wangji held the book, lowering his gaze. "So, will you stay tonight?" Before I could answer, Cheng Heshua came over. He looked at Cheng Wangji gently and said, "Second brother, the night wind is strong. You're dressed so lightly. Be careful not to catch a cold. Also, before, my soul power was weak and couldn't accompany Xiangxiang, which caused some misunderstandings between you two. From now on, when you see her, you must respectfully call her sister-in-law."
12.
1 year later, I donated many merits for my master's sake. His white hair turned black again, and he was granted another 20 years of life. My master traveled far and wide, while I settled down in his hometown, Nining County. My master was famous in Nining, and under his disciples' reputation, I managed to get a low-level post at the county office. Officially, I was a constable, but whenever a violent case occurred, the county office would have me recite talismans to ward off evil spirits. One early morning, I heard someone had reported a case. My senior brother fixed my hat and whispered a warning. "Come with me to patrol the Tianxiang brothel. If you see those tempting young servants, don't get distracted." I scratched my head and hurriedly replied, "Don't worry, senior." In the year I worked in Nining, my reputation as a womanizer spread far and wide. Back then, the singing girls of Tianxiang brothel paraded through the streets scattering flowers, accompanied by flute-playing servants. I watched the person sitting in the sedan chair and got enchanted for a moment. While walking, I suddenly slipped and fell into the river, becoming a laughingstock for everyone. When I climbed ashore, the pure-looking servant on the sedan chair smiled at me and tossed me his flute. From then on, I became a regular at Tianxiang brothel. More than half a month's silver was spent on wine and flowers. This dazzling world was so captivating, it was no wonder I had such weak willpower. I followed my senior to Tianxiang brothel. There was a drunken man causing trouble, trying to assault a singing girl. The madam saw me and shouted, "Oh, Constable Juan, please come and protect Pingping." Pingping's eyes reddened the moment she saw me. She leaned softly into my arms and tearfully called out, "Constable Juan." That burly man reeked of alcohol, but had clear eyes. He sneered at me, "A lowly constable, and a woman at that. What can you do to me? Those singing girls here aren't pure, they're all for sale." I watched as he swung his fists. Big and strong as he was, I feared one punch might knock my head off. Frightened, I hid behind my senior. He grit his teeth and whispered, "I know you're timid, but you're representing the new county magistrate soon to take office. If you chicken out now, how will you keep your job?" The troublemaker saw me shrinking back and got even more pumped up. He raised his fist and shook it at me. Terrified, I screamed and pushed my senior forward.
Bang.
My senior collided with that massive fist and started bleeding from his nose. He immediately drew his sword angrily. "How dare you attack a county officer? Take him away." I quickly pulled out a handkerchief and handed it to my senior, flattering, "Senior, you're mighty and heroic." Then I gave the madam a look. She slipped 2 taels of silver into my hand. While my senior wasn't paying attention, I pocketed 1 tael and gave the other to him. We took the man back to the county office. The duty officer, hearing he had attacked one of their own, grunted, "Lock him up for 15 days. Let him learn his lesson." After my shift, I changed clothes and hummed a tune on my way to Tianxiang brothel. Once inside, I easily found my way to the room of the pure servant. He turned his head to look at me. I flattered him. "County magistrate, based on the evidence you provided, I have confirmed that Tianxiang brothel was a money-laundering den for the previous magistrate. Your undercover work was truly brilliant." That flute player, who had dazzled me that day, was clearly a disguised Chen Wangji. At first, I found him somewhat familiar, and after more contact, I recognized him. Chen Wangji looked at me coldly and said, "Before you recognized me, you held my hand and said you'd save enough silver someday to redeem me. After you recognized me, you treat me so coldly? Wan Xiangxiang, we used to be inseparable, sharing flowers and moonlight. You wanted to die on me. What a joke." He's now the magistrate of Nining, my direct superior. I must be crazy to still be entangled with my boss. Working like a beast by day, still like a beast by night. Am I insane? Then Chen Wangji threw out a ledger and gave me a captivating smile. "You use your position as a county officer to put on a show, visiting wealthy households to exorcise demons and swindle silver, all to support the orphanage in the southern part of town. If those rich folks knew that you're just a con man who only knows how to deceive, what do you think would happen to you?" Hearing this, I stepped forward, took Chen Wangji's hand, and said affectionately, "It's been a year. You've lost weight. I didn't recognize you at first because I didn't want to delay your future." Chen Wangji showed a hint of grievance, turned his head away, and said with restraint, "I was once the top scholar, yet I came to this place to serve as county magistrate for whom, do you know? There's no such thing as a future anymore." We walked together, chatting, toward the alley where I lived. To my surprise, the entrance to my home was packed with people. Neighbors were happily eating sunflower seeds and gossiping with interest. I never expected Constable Wan was already married in the capital. You can't tell from her looks, but she's the type to start something and then leave. Bah, a woman who spends all day drinking and gambling at brothels, how much true heart can she have? Don't say that. Since Constable Wan moved to our Huaihua alley, no man has dared to lay a hand on any wife around here. That's true. If we women have troubles, Constable Wan is always willing to help. As they chatted, they saw me. I shoved Chen Wangji aside and distanced myself from him. But the neighbors' eyes were sharp. They immediately saw through the illicit affair between us. The courtyard gate was open, and Cheng Heshue came out. He had the servants deliver a pile of gifts to the neighbors, winning their favor. Cheng Heshue gently said, "Madam has returned. The meal is ready. Please come inside to eat." Just then, Chen Wangji stubbornly came over and tightly held my hand. I heard an outburst of whispers behind me. My scalp tingled. I quickly pushed them inside and closed the door. But that didn't stop the gossip outside. I heard Constable Wan is a notorious womanizer. Didn't expect her to be this bad. Wan earns well, has a kind heart, and is pretty to boot. Many handsome men in our county would offer themselves to her. But alas, she turns her nose up at all the common beauties. I was really hungry. Sitting at the dining table, I buried my head and ate hard. Cheng Heshue poured me a cup of wine and supported my back, saying softly, "Madam, eat slowly." Cheng Wangji held his wine cup. A faint smile appeared on his alluring but not overly charming face. He sipped the wine and looked at me. The wine you personally fed me the other day was far more fragrant than this. Chung Hashua said. Madam stayed in my room for 3 days before leaving. After you left, the room was lonely and empty. I hug your little clothes every night, tossing and turning, only able to live on memories from the painting you left me. He said this as he publicly took out that painting. He unfolded a corner to reveal Chung Hashua's disheveled figure. I pressed down hard on the scroll, forced a dry laugh, and said, Eat, eat. No more old stories. Chung Wangji expressionlessly crushed his wine cup, then suddenly smiled. I didn't want you to paint on me, but you go and use such means to anger me. No problem. Tonight you can do whatever you want. The two of them stared at each other, tension rising at the dining table. A shout came from outside. My senior brother called out, Wan Xiangxiang, a murder happened in Erwang village. Hurry up. At that moment, I relaxed, grabbed my knife, and rushed out. I spent 3 days straight handling official duties outside. When I returned, Chung Hashua and Chung Wangji no longer argued. The whole meal was unusually quiet. While Chung Hashua helped me pack, a piece of paper fell out. Chung Wangji picked it up, read aloud. Constable Wan, you are like the bright moon, shining in my heart. The other day, you saved my life, so I owe you my whole life. If you feel the same. I couldn't stand the mushy words and immediately grabbed it to tear it up. I swore. There's absolutely no romantic relationship between me and this sentimental scholar. That day at the scene, he was almost killed, and I saved his life. I have no idea when this weird letter appeared. Chung Hashua gently smoothed my collar and said kindly, Madam, I believe you. I bought a house in Nining and from now on I'll live here. I heard you spent a lot of silver building an orphanage for girls. I'm free, so I'll help manage it for you, okay? With Chung Hashua around, of course, I was happy to be free and easy. Chung Wangji hung a safety charm on my waist and said coolly, If you ever work late at the county office again, stay at my place. That way, you don't have to get up early for roll call. The two of them chatted back and forth without arguing anymore. After washing up, I lay on the bed half asleep, feeling that something was off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Can life really go on like this? The end.